Street Fighter 6 looks like it's going to be one of the biggest games in 2023, and today I wanted to round up all the info that we have so far, plus give you some first impressions of gameplay, given I've been playing the Street Fighter 6 closed beta over the past few days. Well, before we dive into the gameplay impressions, let's round up the key details that we know so far about the game. First of all, the release date. So Street Fighter 6 launches on the 2nd of June 2023. It's going to be available on PS5, PS4, PC and Xbox Series X. Not really sure why it's not releasing on Xbox One. That does remain a bit of a mystery. Crossplay is going to be available, which is good news for online players and not fragmenting the player population into platform buckets. Next up, rollback netcode. So rollback netcode is going to be available and is a key part of having a successful online fighting game. This allows for super fast, responsive, minimal latency matches with players in your region. So many fighting games have come and gone, and one of the main reasons the player base falls away is the lack of rollback netcode, and so this is great news for Street Fighter 6 fans. Next up, let's have a look at the roster. So regarding the full roster, we haven't had this confirmed yet from Capcom at the moment. The only official characters are Ryu, Luke, Chun-Li, Guile, Jamie, Yuri and Kimberly. However, we did have a leak of Street Fighter 6 characters. If you believe the leak, then there's going to be 22 characters in total, but do take it with a pinch of salt. This is a leak, and we don't know if the full roster is going to be there at launch or if some characters are going to be released over time. But here is the full roster. So Ryu, Ken, Zangief, Dhalsim, E Honda, Blanka, Guile, Chun-Li, Cammy, DJ, Rashid, Yuri, Ed, Akuma, Luke, Marissa, Jamie, Mimi, Lily, JP, Kimberly, and AKI. Well, next up, let's have a look at the Street Fighter 6 story. So the Street Fighter 6 story has moved past 1999's Third Strike, which means no M. Bison or Shadaloo. Guile and Chun-Li are going to need some new motivation, so I would expect new stories for them. There have been some hints that Street Fighter 3's characters are going to be returning, with Hugo and Gil heavily hinted in the trailers so far. Okay, next up, let's have a look at the game mode. So there's 3 separate game modes: Fighting Ground, Battle Hub, and World Tour. Fighting Ground is where you can play local multiplayer and training modes to hone your skills. Capcom said that all of Street Fighter V's modes can be found in Fighting Ground, which is really, really good. That means plenty of arcade modes and survival modes alongside the regular co-op modes. Battle Hub is where you can create an avatar and walk around a virtual hub world, challenge other players online and get involved in events. You also jump on classic Capcom arcades and play old games like Final Fight. The most recent Street Fighter 6 beta focuses on the Battle Hub, and I'll get into more info of that in my first impressions of gameplay in a moment. The main thing is with Battle Hub, this is your online hub world where you can challenge other players and climb the ranks to become a champion. Finally, we've got World Tour mode. So this is described by Capcom as an open world where you can meet characters from Street Fighter and challenge them to matches. We don't really know too much about World Tour at the moment, but it sounds like Capcom are taking a unique angle to the story mode, which hopefully should be a whole load of fun. Okay, next up, let's have a look at my Street Fighter 6 first impressions. So I was lucky enough to get involved with the closed beta that ran from the 16th to the 18th of December. I got to play on PC. It was probably a poor choice on my part, given my PC isn't as powerful as my PS5 or my Xbox Series X. I spent about 4 hours playing so far though, mainly playing with Ken, Ryu and my old favourite Chun-Li. I've got mixed results online, probably getting beaten about 70% of the time, but to be honest, for me that's about normal when it comes to online Street Fighter. First of all, the game feels great. It's very responsive, it's quick, and I really love the animations. I'm using the classic controls. I tried to use the modern controls, but they didn't really work for me, and Street Fighter moves are so ingrained into my head, it's really hard to get used to a new control scheme. Now, while I mainly played with classic characters, some of the other characters really caught my eye, including Jamie and Yuri. I could definitely see myself playing as Yuri sometime in the future with her powerful kicking attacks. I didn't play Street Fighter V, so I don't know if there are new moves, but I really like the blocking system when you hold down 2 of the buttons to block a series of attacks, and then you can press both strong kick and strong punch at the same time to release an unblockable attack, unless your opponent does it at the same time. Chun-Li's 100-foot kick had a change from hitting the kick button plenty of times to a fireball movement, which confused me at first, but I do kind of like it, and I don't know if there's a change related to Street Fighter 6, or if that happened in 4 or 5. Well, the closed beta was focused around the Battle Hub, and it is a little bit strange for me to create a character in Street Fighter and walk them around a hub world. I imagine this is laying the groundwork for later adding in microtransactions, adding costumes, items, and other cosmetics. We haven't seen what the store or the microtransactions are going to be like yet, but creating this avatar really gives off MMO vibes, and following that can often be some aggressive monetization. But we are just going to have to wait and see. I'm hoping that Capcom release the game free to play, then I wouldn't mind so much if they offered cosmetics to buy. I'm not really traditionally into cosmetic items like this, but I can see why they've done it from a business point of view. Walking around a virtual hub world sitting in arcades is an interesting take on things, plus you can chat to everyone else in the same instance, which so far has been quite well mannered, as I think everyone is excited to get into the beta. Street Fighter holds a special place in my gaming history. When I was a kid, I played Street Fighter 2 in the arcades, now on the SNES and the Mega Drive. I used to go to these tournaments in Eastbourne with my friends in an old video game arcade called Hackers Alley. It wasn't really that good, but I did win a few matches, still playing back then with Chun-Li. My good friend Robbie Williams is also a big fan of Street Fighter. It's something we played together on various consoles, on an old original SNES and then later on a SNES Classic. It's something that we can still play together today. Ryu versus Ken or Ken versus Ken. We may start out a little bit slow and rusty, but soon we're into twitchy combat where we taunt each other into jumping or moving first. Great memories, so shout out to Mr. Robbie Williams and also anyone who ever went to Hackers Alley in Eastbourne in the 90s to play Street Fighter 2 tournaments. Well, as first impressions go, this beta has only elevated my hype levels for the full game, coming on the 2nd of June 2023. When I buy the game, I'm going to be picking it up on the next-gen console rather than on PC, given my PC is fairly old about now and would look much better on my next-gen rather than my 5-year-old PC. Definitely recommend trying it out though, and if you're a fan of Street Fighter, this one is going to be something you really, really want to try. And as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. Hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. Or you can check me out on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. If you enjoyed this video, found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the videos on the channel. Well, thanks again. I'll see you soon.